So in this one, we're going to update our list view to be a little bit more like a search and search results view. We're not going to do a whole lot here. I'm just going to show you some of the basic concept of it and how it is done in other sorts of applications. So let's go ahead and open up the listview.html. And right above hello world, I'm going to put an input in here, and it's going to say text, and we'll just put a placeholder for search. And then I'm going to put it inside of a form. And in this case, we'll do method being get, and then action being to, and blog, and that's it. So the actual blog list itself. And then I'll close that off. Save it, refresh, do some stuff, hit enter, and notice it has a question mark there. Now the reason there's only just a question mark and there's no data is because we need to add a name here. So we need to name our actual inputs. Our forms already do that. So model form actually does do that. If I refresh in here and just say query and hit enter, I now see that there's this query up here. So that query is called a GET request. So every time you go to a URL, that is called a GET request. And what that query is, or what's in here, is a GET parameter. So going into the list view, I can actually print out request.get. I save that, refresh in here, and I see in my terminal, I've got my query dictionary, or the GET parameters that are coming through. This shouldn't look much different than the request post stuff that we've already seen. But since we are working off of the GET method, I could always pretty much call the GET method on function-based views just like this. So I can actually get the query by saying q or query equals to request.get and then .get q. Using .get on a dictionary allows us to prevent errors from happening. So another way to do it is query equals request.get, and then using the key value dictionary. So like this would get it as well. So I save that, refresh. I don't have any errors, but if I get rid of that, I get a key error, right? So this get call eliminates that key error. And actually we could even put a default if we wanted, but I don't want a default. You just could. So I'm going to save that and come in here. And now I've got this queue. So the query set itself, we would say if query is not none, which would be the default if we didn't set it. So that's the default on how it works. Then we can actually change our query set by saying query set equals to query set.filter. And we can do something like title underscore underscore I contains and query. We want to make sure we spell contains correct. And this would be query. So the search query, I contains that search query. So we refresh in here and let's do a search, and I'll just say new. I press enter. Notice it actually came down. If I did post, it comes down even further. So it's actually working as a basic search function. Now you can learn a lot more about this in the Django project queries. We also talk about it in more depth on our various projects, but something I do want to introduce you to is the Q lookups. That is something that might not actually be on this page here. So we'll just do Q lookups Django. We'll press enter, and we want to do our, well, it looks like it should be actually. So we'll do import Q. There it is. So complex looks up with Q objects. It's definitely in that topics/db/queries. We're going to go ahead and do this. So I'm going to copy this import, and it's Django DP models Q. We come down here, back into our search function. I'm going to actually change this to being a query or like a complex lookup. So if I do Q outside of this with parentheses, and now I can do multiple fields that I may want to search, and I can do it by saying or by using the pipe. And then now I can say the content pipe, and I could say the slug, and I could just go further and further. So I definitely recommend that you try this out so you can see it in action with some of your own data. So let's actually change some data. I'll go into the admin, and let's log in, go to posts, and I'll just say this is special. So special being the actual query that we'll end up doing. And we'll go back into the blog. and we search special, it shows us that actual one. So that's a little bit more of a complex lookup, and also a search function. Very simple. Now, if you were going to combine query sets, that is, use another object or another model, that's when it gets a little bit more complicated, and it's just not something that we're going to cover in this one, because it's definitely a lot more advanced than what is necessary to at least do a basic search function. So this search also, I can copy this search or cut it out or whatever, and go into any other view, and of course put that search function in there. Of course, if you were working inside of actual, like if you're used to using Django and you've worked with the templates, you would know a smarter way on how to do this instead of just copying and pasting it everywhere. I will give you a little hint to it, and that's doing search-blog.html. Paste that in there, and then instead of doing that, we would do something more like include blog/search.html. So that's what you kind of have looking forward to for blog search blog.html. There we go. Refresh, and then that's how you would be able to make it a little bit more dynamic than what it currently is. Boom. Okay, cool. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.